and welcome to the next edition of Nights Around the Fire. I'm David Tomsick, and Ashley Hamilton's back. Hi, Ashley.
Hello, it's good to be back.
Today we're going to continue some of Ashley's favorite topics, which, as you know, if you've watched them, was the moon landing, and of course the Jeff Bezos women in space, and of course I think we did one on missing 411 in national parks. That was our very first one. We're going to go back to that, I think, for those of you that have requested that. So, Ashley, what's our topic today?
So today we're going to talk about NASA and some of the history that we were able to find, conspiracy theories with it, people involved. I know we've talked about NASA in past videos a couple of times, and I figured it'd be important to go through at least what we could find about NASA and just have a whole video dedicated on that.
Okay, so I think we talk about NASA. There's a lot of things that I've always been uncomfortable with NASA. And there has been a lot of conspiracy theories. Of course, we talked about the moon landing.
Yes.
There was questions on whether or not we actually landed, especially the very first time. We didn't talk about the rest of the missions. We just wanted to talk about the first time. And there are some questions surrounding it. Did they actually land on the moon the very first time? For you to want to see that video, I'm going to attach it to this particular video. You can hit that link and check it out. So, Ashley, what do we know about NASA?
Not a whole lot, surprisingly. Even though they have their own website and everything, even going on their website, I couldn't find a lot of history for NASA, but I found a lot of history on their projects, which I found to be very strange.
Yeah, interesting, folks. I know a while back, many years back, I went on and kind of investigated NASA on my own. And there were a lot of videos about some of the conspiracies surrounding NASA. Those have been purged by Google or whoever maybe posted them, took them down. So we have really
very limited resources on finding
right.
anything.
Now, of course, the technical stuff's there, but we're talking more about NASA's purpose, right? What it's really doing. Are there some shady aspects to NASA?
It seems so. I find it odd that there isn't a lot of information going on except for what NASA itself puts out. And you have all these people, considered conspiracy theorists who are putting their take into it, but then it's really hard to find, well, where do they get that information from? Because it's just kind of non-existent.
Right. And again, NASA's a massive organization. And obviously in a 45-minute video, we're not going to solve all the mysteries of NASA, but we're going to point out quite a few of them. And I think, Ashley, you started with research on when it began and sort of its budgets, like its humble beginnings.
So it was very hard to find exactly like what started it all. So I had found, so in 1914 is kind of where the idea, I guess, got started. So it says the United States Congress created the aviation section of the U.S. Army Signal Corps, recognizing that it was behind in Europe in aviation capability, which I find to be funny because at least with Kennedy being president and all, and he says, we're behind, we need to be the first. But in 1914, it was kind of, well, we already are behind much. We need to have some type of thing going on to figure out if we can progress further than other people. Because everything's a competition. We have to be the best at everything.
Let's remember that because it truly is. When it comes to the United States, it is a competition. Space was a very, very big competition with, of course, our rivals at the time, the Soviet Union. Okay, so I think you said, Ashley, that 58's when it really kind of took off, right?
Yes, in 1958. So on July 29th, 1958, NASA was actually established with the signing of the National Aeronautics and Space Act. So that's when, and then October 1st is when it officially began operations.
What did they budget for that group?
So in 1958, it was $88 million that was funded for it.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, and it very quickly, I noticed, which also is another thing that NASA did not necessarily have just out in the open. They had a PDF file that you could download, and I did, and it was an entire book of everything that they spent their money on. So it was very hard to find the actual numbers and just the end number of this is how much we spent. And I was able to figure it out on a different website that had gone through it all and was, able to dumb it down for people like me. And so last year they spent $24.875 billion.
And I'm sure in 2026 that'll go up.
Yeah, it's gone up every single year. I don't believe there was a year, or there was maybe a couple of years where it went down a couple million, but went right back up the next year.
Yeah, they are the golden child of the federal government, it seems. So who runs NASA?
NASA is run by an administrator. The president nominates the NASA administrator, who then is approved by a Senate vote, which I did not realize. I was telling David earlier, I didn't realize it was that far up to where Senate and the president are all involved in it. And I think that's because it's just always portrayed of you can go to college and work at NASA. So in my mind, it's like, oh, well, it's just like any other job. You can always build your way up further and further and further. Well, no, you have to get voted in and chosen by the president. So
wow, so it's more of a political appointee then, really?
Yes.
Okay, so we then go back, and if we talked about this on the very first video about NASA or about the space program, Apollo, JFK, President John F. Kennedy, in his famous speech about America needing to excel, there's a space race. He said, we're not doing it because it's easy. We're doing it because it's hard. It's, of course, one of the most famous speeches a president's ever given. So if you want to look that up, that's a treat to listen to.
We have to be the first. We have to be the best.
Right.
We can't come in second.
Well, there is a caveat to this because we did come in second, actually, because it was the Soviet Union that put the first satellite into space, which kind of scared the United States military and the United States government.
Which is also funny because I found a lot of, in a sense, disclaimers throughout everything that I researched saying, it was made for peaceful reasons. They just wanted to explore. And it's like, no, you were worried that people were going to come and use space to invade or, do whatever it is that they need to do, spy. And that's exactly what we do.
Well, it's exactly what's happening today. Plenty of spy satellites for sure, probably more than we need in space. So JFK kind of kicked the ball, and he wanted us to return it for a touchdown. And according to NASA, they did by landing on the moon. And, of course, that question, Ashley, as we tried to answer it on Ashley's video, was it fake or not?
You should put down in the comments right now, if you haven't watched the video or done any type of research, you should put down in the comments what you believe, if it was faked or not, and why you believe it was or wasn't, and then go watch the video.
Right. And we'll link that video in the description box. By the way, when you do that, if you enjoy our content, if you enjoy watching Ashley do her research and Sue do hers, like, subscribe, and share our videos. Hit that like button and make sure you hit the bell icon. That way you'll get notified when we release a new video. So I will attach a link to that, and of course binge watch our videos. You guys can listen to Ashley and Sue all day, I'm sure. Okay, so what does NASA do? Because we think of NASA as going into space, landing on the moon, space shuttles fly in circles over and over and over again. We think of their latest goal, which is mission to Mars, and we'll talk about that a little later in the video, so stay tuned for that. But what are we doing?
Research is the number one thing. Is they wanted to research and see just what all is up there, basically.
I know for a fact they have pretty much every major science involved in their research, from geology, biologists, you name it, they have it. Of course, physicists, and of course, rocket experts. One of the most famous, of course, Ashley, is who?
Wernher Von Braun, who's actually an ex-Nazi. We don't know. Can't confirm that or not because he's not here with us. But he was recruited, actually, by America at the end of World War II to come and join their space programs.
Yeah, I think that was under Operation Paperclip when they kind of, I don't want to say kidnapped a bunch of German scientists, but they did. And my understanding is, yeah, basically to be where he was in the Nazi hierarchy, he had to be a Nazi. He had to belong to the Nazi party. So they kidnapped a bunch of these scientists. And of course, a lot of you know some of the history. Okay. Maybe you don't. And I suggest you study some of this history because I don't think we teach a lot of that anymore. Basically, Operation Paperclip, they got Nazi scientists, other scientists, and they worked on what the Germans were already working on. Not necessarily rockets at first, but it was the atom bomb. And of course, von Braun worked on rockets. He was the expert. So we had these secret things going on for quite a while. Secret tests in the desert. A lot of movies made out of it. Of course, there's been movies made out of, the creation of the atom bomb.
What's that one movie, Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer, yes. I never watched the movie because it is extremely long, and my understanding, extremely boring.
I think it got higher ratings because it came out, I think, the same day or same time that the Barbie movie came out, and people left the Barbie movie to go and watch Oppenheimer.
Okay. And again, we did pretty much win the war on building the bomb.
Yay.
The Russians weren't far behind. We won the war on going and setting on the moon, I think.
Supposedly.
But, there's a lot of other shady characters other than Wernher Von Braun. And don't get me wrong, Ashley. To me, he was shady. He looked nice, and you said of course, Ashley mentioned that if you look at him, even old, he had them bright blue eyes, he had blonde hair, the consummate German Nazi, the perfect humans, and it's interesting there because that whole thing, the Nazis, that was a cult. For those of you that don't know history, and it isn't taught, it was a cult.
Hopefully you do know at least that history.
It was a cult. They had seers and all these occultists that would work for the Nazis to kind of bring that energy into the Nazi party. So the occult was a big part of the Nazis, and I don't know, and we can't confirm, if it was a part of what Wernher Von Braun brought to the United States. We'll never know that, and maybe that's a moot point. But again, there is an occult connection.
A very big occult connection.
But there were others, weren't there?
Yes. Jack Parsons, who I found to be the most probably disgusting person. When I was doing research, which it took me a while to even get to him, and I found a whole article that talked about the unwritten history or the erased history of NASA, and it seemed to be true because I could not find his name anywhere. But he was the co-founder of the Jet Pulsion Laboratory at the California Institute of Technology. Just saying.
It lets you know, big time. Yeah. If you're not a genius, if you're not a super genius, you don't work there. Big deal.
And I believe he was also co-founder of the Aerojet Engineering Corporation.
So obviously Jack Parsons was a brilliant scientist, but he was also a disgusting occultist.
And I will just say this because I talked to David. I was like, I don't even know if I can physically say some of the stuff that he did and was a part of because of YouTube and Facebook's rules. But if you are interested in finding out, you can go and find out all of this stuff that he did, or at least what the occult at that time was doing that he was very open and a part of. He's written books. He was involved with a lot of bad stuff. And I find it funny because I could read basically his whole life, is he had that interest from a very, very young age. So not only was he interested in rockets, and he even made his own, I think him and a friend had made their own rocket that they eventually launched, I think, when he was about 12 years old. It was a miniature rocket, but he did that from such a young age. But he also, from a very young age, had such a strong draw to the supernatural and the occult.
Interesting stuff. And again, there used to be on the History Channel, and it's not there anymore, some references to Jack Parsons and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California. But again, a lot of this was probably for the best, I guess, taken out, because conspiracies can get out of hand. But he definitely had some strange things he did right outside the laboratory. There were things he did outside the laboratory. And I'm not sure what he did inside, but I will tell you, as Ashley said, disgusting is the truth. But another occult reference here. Mm-hmm. Now, there's another guy, and I know he is not directly related to NASA. But again, it's kind of the psychology of space travel, and that was what, L Ron Hubbard?
Yes, and he was a part of it.
Okay.
He was in, because he was partners with Jack Parsons in the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He was there.
Strong connection. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But before founding Scientology, which I also did not know, because I don't know much about Scientology at all, other than people say it's occult and don't get involved in it. He was highly involved with Parsons and highly involved as well in the occult.
And I understand Jack Parsons helped him along when they got into some of the books that L Ron Hubbard wrote. He has some very involved books, well known for these books. You can probably find them if you want to research them as well, on L Ron Hubbard's basically writings as well. So we connect all this together, and it does connect to NASA. Now, okay, is NASA there, doing occult practices down in the Kennedy Space Center? Probably not.
We can't say.
We can't say. We are not there. We were going to send Ashley in undercover, but we were afraid she'd get caught. And
I'd never be heard from again.
Never be heard from again. And I'm here trying to find another person.
That'd be another episode of what happened to Ashley.
Oh, that's right. Me and Sue would have to pick up the pieces there and interview a third person. So we don't want to go there. We want to keep Ashley where she is. I know you all love Ashley over me. Anyway, okay, so this all connects that there is definitely some connections to the occult in the space agencies, in basically space exploration, because many people believe that somehow we're connected to aliens. And I mentioned Ashley, many of you have heard me talk about this with Sue. The History Channel show Ancient Aliens has been on 20 years, I believe. And it deals with us being seeded by aliens. And I'm surprised this goes on and on. I'm surprised people don't get tired of it, but it is a very popular show. Once again, a connection to space, aliens, and our planet. So it goes without saying, I think, Ashley, that, NASA probably has some people within it still that have that same perspective, that maybe outside of Earth there's an answer to how we got here. Not by creation, but by being seeded by aliens from another planet.
Which, if you think, it's also it's biblical to have that viewpoint, because there was the Nephilim, which is the children of, man and the fallen angels. And to me, it's all, and this is my viewpoint as a Christian, it is all tied in spiritually. And it's scary to think that someone as disgusting and as dark as Jack Parsons was allowed to be so, and he wasn't quiet about his occult practices and stuff like that at all. He openly did it. So for them to allow that to be so open in, such a big thing in our country, it's very scary to think that they thought that was okay just because he was simply brilliant. But they also were probably scared of him because they didn't want him on the wrong side.
Yeah.
Because that would have been bad.
Yeah, he was above and beyond anybody else when it came to the occult. Really out there. Again, there's information you can find. As Ashley mentioned, it's hard to find. Maybe some of you can take a lot more time and look for information on Jack Parsons and kind of see where we're going with that. But right now, we're looking at 2025, right? Yeah. What's happened since the space program and the landing on the moon, that time till now? Okay, so we landed on the moon. The last landing on the moon was 1972. I didn't remember that. I should have remembered that. So, okay, let's say we landed on the moon. Maybe not the first time. That's our belief. That the first time we
Yeah.
didn't.
We can't say anything past that, but the very first time it just seems to be very... Oh, that was another thing. Sorry. We go down rabbit holes. But
We do.
if Wernher was... Because he died at the age of 77. So for the moon landing, we happened to lose, all of our information. And it just happened to be lost and from these magnets. Then they brought it back, but it's all edited, yada, yada, yada. So if we lost the initial information that we had, why not go back to the people who were directly involved in it and helped us get there if they were still alive at that point? Because he didn't die. He died at the age of 77 to pancreatic cancer, but he was still going to universities and stuff like that, talking to children about, getting involved in space and, teaching these kids of all this stuff. And it's like, why not just go directly to the source if at that time that was there? Because he could give all that information because that's what he gave to begin with.
Yeah, interesting. And what Ashley is mentioning here is important because the telemetry, the data that you have on the numbers it takes to mathematically find the path and trajectory and all the things that get you to the moon, the mathematics were lost. And this was even...
The film was lost. Everything was lost.
Nobody knows why. Again, was there something suspicious there? Maybe they didn't have it. Maybe all the flights were faked. I don't know. I'm going to just go with what we said. That definitely the first one was suspicious. But keep in mind, a lot of money went into these space flights. And we'd think that the next step would be some big jump in technology, some big jump in what we did. But we went to the Space Shuttle. And what was that, 1981 to 2011? 135 missions.
Which I find that to be odd that it was so long ago that we haven't put any more up or just did anything with that.
The only people putting anything up that we hear about, and I'm sure NASA still does shoot rockets into the sky,
are millionaires and billionaires.
Right, it's Bezos and Musk.
Yeah.
So is that our, future? And I think, Ashley, you mentioned this in the video about Bezos. Watch that video. I'll put a link in here in that description. Basically, what was going on with the Bezos mission and the 6 women that went to space. And they say space, it was, 2 feet into space or 10 feet into space?
It was just, there was the belt, and they just barely went over the belt.
It's like,
to be considered space.
It counts. It counts. You got in. So, is that the future of space exploration? Is it like paying to take a ride on a rocket?
If you have enough money, and I think we talked about how much that was. What was it, like $2.4 million?
Yeah, per
dollars. You two could ride, but you had to put a deposit of $100,000. It was refundable, but you had to put a deposit. It's like, that's insane.
If you want to send Ashley up, someone can donate.
You can donate it, but it won't be used for that.
Okay, so we had the space shuttles, and they did research. And we never know what research they did. Okay, 135 missions.
But also, what all research could you possibly do? Because you're limited in resources up there. It's
Right.
not like you have the availability of everything that you do down here, where even if something breaks, you can just go get a new one. Or, you're very limited to what you do have up there. Even though they are very intricately designed to have just about everything, it's still, you're limited.
And I'm thinking, you're looking at biology, you're looking at, gravity. I mean, but where does this get us in the big push to go to
Mars?
That's right. And we talked about the Disney, of course, Mission to Mars ride they had. And that's been there a long time.
I haven't rode it.
Don't.
Oh, no, wait.
You did ride it.
I did ride it. Never mind. I take that back.
I got sick on it.
Yep.
But, as I mentioned in the last video we did, Gary Sinise, who was in a lot of movies, he was the spokesman for this particular ride because he played in the movie Mission to Mars. And this was a big push to get people ready for the push to Mars, or at least psychologically ready.
Desensitizing.
Yeah, well, we're going to go to Mars. And, I think that was like 20 years ago or more. And I'm thinking to myself.
Yeah, I remember it from a very young age and be like, we're going to go to Mars.
we didn't.
Okay.
Now, we sent machines up, and, there are people that think we didn't send machines up. I don't know. I think we did. We have machines there, but sending humans up's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mission to Mars is the kickoff for what would be a multi-billion-dollar enterprise to do, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
What it would take to go to Mars, the type of ship and everything is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a completely different environment than just the moon or even Earth's atmosphere. So you have to, and if we've never been there physically, how do we know to calculate everything to be just perfect so there's no casualties?
Right. We never had we had a mistake in the launch with the Space Shuttle. Mm-hmm. Okay, but we've never had, although, the one people were stuck there.
Yeah. During
Jeff Bezos' flight with the 6 women, there were people stuck on the space station.
Mm-hmm.
They
were
couldn't
only
get down.
supposed to be there for, it was in between 3 days or a week, and then they were there for about 3 weeks or a month or so, if not longer.
They didn't have the ability to get them back. So they finally did come back. So that tells me, man, you can't get that right, but you're going to go to Mars. So what do you think's the special thing about Mars?
Just something else to focus on, probably, really. I mean, I think a lot of people are talking about cities and stuff being built on Mars or it being the new Earth. And you know what? Anybody who wants to leave Earth and go and live on a different planet, you are free to do so. Goodbye. We'll wave. Don't come back.
Well,
probably
you realize
a lot of millionaires and billionaires and celebrities going there.
Well, we had a pre-talk, Ashley and I,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about, as if you've watched this channel, Sue and I have had the same conversations about, and I always bring up pop culture, and I'm going to bring it up again because everything we do in life is affected by pop culture.
Mm-hmm. Whether you want to admit it or not.
Right. And some of the beliefs you have, you may not even realize are somehow affected by pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, back in the 50s and 60s, we talked about aliens and the nuclear wars that could happen and giant bugs that were created because of fallout, Godzilla. All those things were part of pop culture that we still believe in many ways are real today.
Bigfoot.
Well, now I take offense to that. Me and Bigfoot are pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's going on expedition with us. She's going to meet him face to face. So pop culture and Mars. Do you think people think of this as easy it is as we see in a movie?
I think probably because they make everything believable to a certain extent on movies. It's, well, that makes sense. Well, you would just have to do this. When we have no training or anything whatsoever, we're not engineers or scientists of any kind, but they make it, in a sense, dumb enough to where just your everyday people can imagine.
That's an excellent point. Movies are designed and sadly they're written for a lot smaller IQ, smaller child type category because things can get sometimes overwhelmed. There are shows that I used to watch for like 1 year that were, you had to really think on them. They were like a spy novel type thing, and they canceled it because no one understood it because they couldn't follow the plots. This is true. So what we do is we dumb it down and we say, hey, watch a movie. And if you've watched movies, you can see on a lot of these movies, and I think Superman, one of the Superman movies, the aliens came down. They were from Krypton, and they were going to basically terraform the planet to be like Krypton. Terraforming is what Ashley's talking about there, is changing the atmosphere of a planet to make it like your own.
Mm-hmm.
Now, think about that. We don't even have a rocket ship that can reach Mars. Now, Jeff Bezos or Musk is going to have a starship?
Somebody who owns SpaceX.
That's Musk.
So SpaceX plans on sending a rocket and robots to Mars in the year 2026. There is a countdown, I believe, or it is 6 months to get there, which is, it's crazy to think that it's that far away, going as fast as you can go in a rocket.
Yeah, I think
it's insane to think. It's like, if it's that far away, maybe we shouldn't go.
6 months, right? Wow. Mm-hmm. So just if you're a human and you're in the rocket, of course, it's going to be an unmanned flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's going to shoot a rocket. We've done that. We've shot things to Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe he's going to try to land things there. I don't know, but...
Collect data from things.
Right, and that, again, that's called telemetry, and that's things you need mathematically, because if you're like a quarter of an inch off when you leave Earth, you're 100,000 miles off when you reach your destination, so you're not even in the same quadrant. A lot of math to this. But you would think with the types of computers we have today, this would be much easier. So we're going to go to Mars with humans. 6 months, 6.5 months.
Well, that was with SpaceX. NASA apparently said that we will go to Mars as early as, I think they said in the 30s, so 2030. So it could be 2030, could be 2035. It's just somewhere in there. They think as early as. It's like as early as. We've been wanting to go to Mars for years. And we're putting $24 billion into it. What progress are we not making?
Right,
it's taking us this many years.
Where's the jump in technology? Again, go back to movies. And, I've watched a lot of science fiction movies in my day. And back in the day, back when I was a little kid, and my brother, before me, they had people going into space. Of course, they used strings to make everything work back then. But there was a lot of programs that took you into space. Star Trek, one of the most famous series, started the basically television premiere of science fiction type shows. They went into space and they could travel through space wormholes, and they can do all these things that we can't do. And you might say, well, David, you don't know what they have. I don't? Well, if they would have had it, I think they'd have been there by now. They've been talking about it since War of the Worlds.
I think they probably do have a lot more than what they tell the public, because then what power would they have over if everybody knew exactly what they had?
Yeah, keep funding us. We need more billions.
But I believe that with just about everything. So government-wise, anything. I think there's a lot that we don't know.
Well, the sell there is what Ashley said, that we can live there. And again, that was another show from the 60s. I used to love the girl that was on there. Well, two girls that were on there. It's called Lost in Space. It's another basically iconic movie about having to find another home, because the home we had was running out of space, or the elements we need to stay.
Dying.
Right, so they sent a family into space, and of course they got knocked off of their course, and there's a whole series on that. But again, if you've watched that, you're believing that that's something that we can easily do. Of course, now they've even had more programs with manufactured technology beyond our belief. But we don't see any of that. We barely can, keep the electricity on. And that's true. We barely can keep the electricity on right now, because we're manufacturing or making as much electricity as we're using. And with the advent, and this is a bonus for you today, folks. You can thank me later with a comment. She's laughing. With the advent of AI and server farms, you need 10 times that energy. And they're taking 10 times the water to cool the units. And they have to power these separately, because they're drawing more power than we need, than that we can provide them. So you see this issue with energy and all these things is making people believe we need to find another source. Let's go to Mars.
We all just need to be pilgrims. Or not pilgrims, Amish. That's what. Just
You've
all
heard
go
it.
back to the Amish.
I'm going to buy Ashley an Amish hat for her next video. And the weekend, I can wear an Amish hat too.
Well, think about it. If, say, the world were to go to absolute crap, and how many people, I think probably 40%, if not more, of the population would die within the first month.
I think
because
that's
we are
true.
so focused on, and we have no skills. We have no life skills, because everything is for convenience. Whereas like the Amish, they live off of their hard work and their skills that they have. So if the world will go to crap, okay, well, they're already living like that, so nothing changes for them. Whereas for us, our entire world changes and how many people are going to just die because they don't know, they don't care to know now, and they're just dumb. I make a joke that OSHA was the worst thing for people because it took out the dumb people and it's kept them alive, and they have since breeded on. It's like, wow.
There's something to be said about that.
Natural selection is just...
if OSHA didn't exist, there'd be a lot of dead people on job sites. I will tell you that from working in the manufacturing world and the construction world for a while. They literally would kill themselves because they would be unsafe. Shortcut city. So I think, Ashley, that when we're talking Mars, we're talking NASA, there's a lot of kind of holes in this because no one really follows NASA day to day.
No.
You don't hear anything from them unless you go on the NASA channel, and that's pretty much all rhetoric and...
It's all conditioned to what they want to know, which there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. That's how we all can be with social media. We want it to be exactly what we want it to be and not necessarily the full truth behind everything. That's just kind of human nature of you want to present your absolute best and you don't want to show, you know, the ugly behind it all.
No one wants to hear bad news.
No.
So they're not going to give it to you, you know. And with NASA, probably... You know, you would hope, and I guess this is ridiculous for me to say this, I would like to say if you're spending $25 billion a year, you know, you should have an update on your website of where you're at, what equipment you're designing, how close you are to developing the systems that takes a man from the Earth to the moon.
Well, they do. It's just this.
Yeah, you just can't understand it.
Everything.
You can't.
Finding the financial stuff, it was ridiculous how much stuff I had to get to, you know, it was like page 75, and they had their financial stuff, which was a very small thing, by the way. It was only 3 or 4 chapters of it, but it was just so confusing to read, and it's like, oh, we spent $11,000 on this and $4,000 on this, $8,000 on this, and $15,000 on this. It came to a total of $22,000. Okay, well, I know you didn't spend $22,000 overall. I'm trying to find overall. It needed dumbed down a little bit.
You wonder if it's like the military. They spent $12,000 on a hammer. You never know. A toilet seat, $20,000. You remember all that where they overcharged these things so that they can like grease somebody's palm? That's we hope is not the case. Now, keep in mind, other countries are doing the same as we are. Russia, China, India all have space programs, and I think there's more that have literal space programs that launch satellites. So we're not the only ones that do that anymore, you know. And but I think they're a little more frugal. I don't think they necessarily needed to do 135 shuttle flights or, you know, moon landings and then stop mysteriously.
Which I don't think anybody else has technically been to the moon.
No,
like no other country has done it.
I think they've
to my
landed,
knowledge.
I think the Chinese landed things on Mars.
Yeah, maybe robots and stuff, but actual people, which also is another thing. Well, why haven't we advanced to that again?
And do we really need to put people on the planet?
Maybe some people can go and they can just stay. And not come back.
Do you have a list?
The Kardashian. No, I'm just joking.
You heard it here, folks. Nights Around the Fire. By the way, if you like what you hear, please like, subscribe, and share our videos. Appreciate it. I always say we do have a weird schedule of releasing videos, so that bell icon.
I'm sorry.
You heard it here, folks. We'll notify you when we have released a new video. And leave a comment. We love comments. Actually, Sue is our filterer of comments. We are getting a lot of them. And again, if you like what you see and you want, you know, something else for us to investigate, Ashley or Sue, put it in the comments. We definitely will listen to you. We want to kind of go with what you want to do. We are an unusual channel because we try to have fun doing this. We're not really all in. We make sure that we cover both sides and make fun of people while we do it.
Yeah, we're not getting paid for this, so.
Yeah, right now, zero. You can, if you do want to help us out, we're going to be setting up a Patreon channel, so keep that in mind. We're going to be setting that up by fairly soon. The girls do hard work. They do a lot of research. And again, Ashley spent a lot of time trying to find info on NASA that
Wasn't just NASA.
yeah, I mean, literally, because it's such a big topic. And a lot of those websites that we used to get to when I was looking at it a few years back are gone. So it's a lot of work to do this research and to put the things together. And we appreciate it if you watch it and watch it to the end. Okay, so finally, Ashley, let's look at what happens, if we do get to the moon. I mean, or should I say, do get to Mars. What happens? Do you think that's like the step for Jupiter, which I don't think we can go to? I don't want to say this. What type of technological jump do we need to get to Mars? And then from Mars to another planet, which is even farther away, and why bother?
I have no idea. I see no point. I think we should take care of the planet that we do have. But I don't know what we would need, because it's been years and years and years, and there's all this money going into it. I don't see what exactly we don't have to go to Mars already, with all of the rovers and stuff like that on it. And then as soon as we go there, is it going to be like the moon landing, where we just go kind of once and then we're done and we're never going back again, but we'll strive for the next thing that's further out? I'm going to go to Saturn. Pretty sure it's all gas, so you can't technically, but...
Yeah, I mean, it seems you have to go to out of the solar system.
Yeah, that's it. There's always going to be the next big thing, and that's because we can't be content with what we have.
That is the premise for all science fiction movies. And again, it's going to that star. And the thing is...
If you could travel outside the Milky Way.
Right. And, the stuff you do for movies is a lot different than the stuff you really do in real life.
Yeah.
The starship that Musk wants to send to Mars isn't really a starship. It's a rocket. He's using starship to make it sound like something from the movies. The Starship Enterprise, and that's a starship. And you think of these big ships that can go through space and create wormholes and get from A to B in seconds. Well, you're on a ship for a long time. Could you imagine that? And would you have to be in suspended animation?
I have no idea.
Again, folks, the farther you go, and a lot of the space programs do this. They put you in suspended animation. They reduce your body heat because it's such a long trip. So by that time, everybody you knew on Earth's dead. And what happens when the new technology is better than that technology, and then what you're doing is already outdated? You see, this is mind-boggling. But the money continues to be poured in. Hopes to go to Mars. Terrified. We can live on Mars. What can go wrong there?
We're all going to end up being like WALL-E, where everybody's fat. They're all controlled of what they do, what times they do it. We're going to go on these ships, go out into space because, Earth is no longer habitable because we ruined it.
Right. I mean, and that's true. And that's on us because, it's not like we don't understand about, things we need to do to take care of our Earth. I mean, but we do it anyway. And no one seems to think it's going to matter because there's always some technology that's going to fix it. Well, water is already a premium resource right now.
It's being polluted. You know the water that we drink?
Is polluted.
It's reused water from the sewage facilities. That's disgusting.
Well, we won't go down that road today because it's hard to find fresh water. We live in an area with 3 rivers, and they're very dirty. Those 3 rivers were polluted by steel mills for decades. But the EPA is now reducing their reach into these facilities because the EPA has been cut. So forests are at risk now, water's at risk now, farmland's at risk now. There's our environment's at risk because we're going to choose money in the sense of not having regulations, which I know people hate regulations. But without regulations, my friends, it's like OSHA. Without OSHA, you'd be working in a radiation factory without protective material. That's what they would do to you. And the problem is we know this. but no one cares because we're told that, well, companies shouldn't have to deal with regulations. Well, when you let somebody do something on their own and money's involved, they're going to take every shortcut known to man to make sure they make more money. So if we're going to ruin our environment, let's go ruin another environment. Let's go to Mars and do it there. Because you always bring with you what you did before. Human nature doesn't change. And of course, this whole race for Mars, at least maybe we're the only ones racing for Mars. Yeah. Will it happen?
Probably not in our lifetime.
And
they say as early as 2030, so.
Well, that's 5 years. What have we even done in 5 years? I mean, it took them years to test to go to the moon. I mean, we sent we were building rockets for decades, testing them. And they still only have that technology, rocket technology, solid fuel boosters. There is no like nuclear rockets or anything. There isn't. We don't have anything but the same rockets we used 50, 60 years ago. So you're going to go from going into space for 5 seconds or 10 minutes to going to Mars.
It was 2 minutes that they were actually
2 minutes. I'm sorry.
Considered in space.
2 minutes.
The entire flight was 11 minutes from takeoff to landing.
Wow.
Yep.
Any closing remarks, Ashley? Anything you want to add to the NASA story?
I think it's always important to question a lot. Not necessarily if you are given blatant evidence, it is okay to accept that, but also when it's something that is so big and so influential, it is okay to question the reasons behind things. You know, does it have occult ties? Possibly. It did at the very beginning. It most certainly did. So has that gone away? Is it still involved? And I think ultimately taking God out of our country is what just ruins us. But it's okay to question things, and that's the whole purpose of this podcast and these videos is to get people to stop just believing what they're blatantly told. And social media tells you something different every single day.
Yeah.
So it's very important to just put questions like, is that the truth? And maybe further dig down into the research of, okay, well, this is why I believe it could possibly be or, not be.
I think that's a great point. Leave the echo chamber. And sometimes we live in echo chambers. Only the things we want to hear we stay with. So a lot of people live in those echo chambers and they don't want to believe that maybe what they think is a little wrong, especially when it comes to a lot of the things you've heard over the years with NASA. So a lot of money, a lot of questions. Leave your comments, what you think, in the comments section here. And don't forget, again, to like, subscribe, and share the videos. Hit the bell icon. We're going to be coming out with a new video very soon. Ashley, we haven't talked about what we're going to be doing next. So if you have any suggestions you want Ashley to research, put that in the comment as well, and we'll make it fit for us. Outside of that, thank you for watching. God bless you. And we'll see you next time right here on Nights Around the Fire. See you later.
Bye.